Scottish tune I learned from the old wise man, Rob Bonner.
How was that? That was alright, man. I didn't hate it.
Some old Irish song.
Welcome to the podcast, folks. It's Two Lonely Boys in a Canoe.
Hello, everybody.
There's your friend Trevor. I'm your friend Chris. Welcome back.
He's Rabble Chits, Gorgeous George.
That's what they call us. That's what we're known as. Those are our aliases. All right. How you doing today, Trevor?
Good, man. Better than yesterday.
Yeah?
Mainly because it was cooler, which made life easier. Yesterday,
I think the whole country's going through it right now, man.
Yeah.
There's a heat wave going.
Our weather's been crazy. Midwest has been hot. The Southwest, like Arizona, has been like 120 plus, 128. Sure. Yeah. I mean, we're
got those Mormons running around with their heads caught on fire.
Well, that's what happens when you're a golden tablets person to fire, too. Wait, where's your tablets, Joseph Smith? Well, they just magically, conveniently burn into up in the sky as soon as you ask me.
I always love Joseph Smith's story on South Park, where they're like, he's looking into a hat and reading off of the tablets, and he's transcribing it to some guy, and they're like, oh, well, what, can we see him? And he's like, no. He's like, they're only for me.
What's funny is the creators grew up Mormon.
No, they didn't.
No?
No, Trey Parker and Matt Stone didn't grow up Mormon, but they grew up in the area of Colorado where there were a lot of Mormons.
Oh.
So that's how they kind of really knew the story of like Joseph Smith and Mormonism.
Because there are a lot of Mormons.
They did research into it, and they were just like, there's a lot of inconsistencies in this fucking story. They even did that crazy musical, The Book of Mormon.
Yeah, I want to see that.
They made a lot of money off of it. I don't know, but it was on Broadway. It was huge.
Could we just watch it on YouTube one day or
Probably, but I'm not big into musicals.
I'm not either, but it's the guys that did South Park.
It's possible.
Team America.
That's kind of what Team America is. Team America is a little bit of a musical, too. But yeah, man, I'm glad to be here today, Trevor. It was a little tiring. I'm glad to be here. I got some coffee before the podcast, so I'm feeling well. But yeah, it was a little tiring today. You fucking have those weird days where it's just like it feels like a blur. Okay. You're just getting through, and things are happening around you, and eventually you're off work. Yeah.
You got another thing coming.
Yeah, man. But other than that, it was a really great day. Just got some shit done and made sure everybody was happy, man. That's what you do. You go in, you make sure you can help everybody and do what you can to help them, and you fucking move on. That's what I say, folks. Do what you can to help the world, then move on. That weed's good, huh? I took a rip while Trevor was trying to play guitar, and I couldn't stop choking. He tries. No, you did good, but I couldn't stop choking. I was just sitting there. I was like feeling like I was fucking it up. I don't know. So run us down the old agenda for today, Trevor. What topics are we talking about? We've been planning this one for a few days, folks. We started on Monday, which is really nice. It's Thursday today, the 19th.
Yeah, I don't actually have as much on news.
Or no, the 20th. I think it's the 20th, yeah?
Today's the 21st.
No way. I've been writing the 20th all day. I'm going back in time.
I know, because the bus literally flashes right in front of you the day and time all the time.
Oh, of course. When you ride the bus, yeah.
But
who rides the bus these days, Trevor?
All those poor folks.
Hey, you poor folks, get vehicles like normal people.
Normal is a subjective thing nowadays, remember?
Yeah, but normal people have cars.
No.
Normal people usually have cars, Trevor.
Not so much.
Even crazy people have cars sometimes.
There's a lot of people that...
Trevor, get a car. Folks, I got to use the podcast against him to force him to get a vehicle.
I like driving. I've had vehicles. I work on them, but we have limited parking. That's the biggest issue.
His issue is that he doesn't want to pay for it.
Also limited parking.
Yeah, well, that's a portion of it. But I guarantee if you looked into it, you probably could find a parking space.
The last place is bad enough. This place is... The problem is we're surrounded by a lot of people that are new to driving.
Trevor, it's a part of working, and it's a part of getting around town as an adult.
Walking and taking a
How
bus.
do you take a girl on a date? You get on the bus?
Yeah, I see people all the time go on dates on the bus, actually, on a regular basis.
This is fucking homeless couple.
Homeless couple, and just slightly, they have a residence. There's a lot of poor people that have wives.
So when you ask a girl out, she goes...
I have seen multiple couples go on dates via buses.
The microphone's right here. So here's my argument. When you ask a girl out, and she goes, all right, what time are you picking me up? What do you tell her? Well, let's take the bus.
I've known people that do that. You gotta know more poor people, Chris.
I know a lot of poor people, bro, but poor people that don't have jobs or poor people that don't fucking save up to get a vehicle, I don't get.
Well, I'm working and trying to save. And I've had vehicles and I've done this. But you've always had a vehicle.
I haven't. I was driving at 1 year old. I was born in this truck.
Motherfucker, since you were 16, you told me that you've always had a vehicle.
Because of the fact that I worked.
I also worked, but your dad was also a mechanic, so you had access to a lot of these vehicles.
I did have access to vehicles.
All right, there you go.
Well, you have had access to a vehicle for as long as you've been able to drive.
Not all the time, no.
Well, not all the time, but I mean, while you had one. You had a truck a year or two ago. Tell them about the truck, Trevor.
It was nice. It was
a nice Tacoma.
It was a nice Tacoma. I still miss my 99 that was a 5-speed.
You looked fucking sick coming home in that bad boy.
Yeah.
You'd see each other from time to time. That's how we originally met.
That's how we met.
We were the only two dudes with trucks.
Working just jobs that played.
Well,
we were playing
at
hard
the
rock.
Parking lot.
Yeah, I mean, we playing hard rock usually coming home.
Yeah. We were the only two dudes with trucks and a very crammed parking garage. So it was always a thing parking the truck.
Yeah, it was always an adventure. Like you, I got really good at backing up perfectly. But it was annoying after a long day of fucking work. It was like,
well, sometimes you got to park the car, Trevor.
I know.
So that you can get up in the morning and drive to work like a normal person. Back to the argument. All right, folks, I'm going to stop berating my best friend here.
You're getting too high up on the ivory tower.
I just think that Trevor could be cooler with a car.
If we get to a spot with more parking, I will absolutely get it. Once we get a spot out in the country, I swear we will get. I'll get a vehicle.
Trevor's talking about like us, like we're gonna move out to the country.
We're gonna move out to the country, buddy. Eat millions of peaches. Peaches for you. Peaches for you.
Peaches for you.
Move to the country.
You're gonna eat a lot of peaches.
It's gonna happen, buddy.
Peaches come from a can. They were put there by a man who lives in a factory downtown. All right.
So we'll get a spot in the country. We'll eat peaches. I'll have a truck again. We'll have ladies. We'll actually appreciate.
Trevor's gonna tie up some girls and bring them home and be like, "Chris, I got some girls." Chris, like, you can't do this, Trevor. You take one of those girls and you go. I'm taking this one.
Chris, why are you spoiling it for everybody right now? Why are you just telling the end of the movie? What are you doing?
Because, man, we're writing the best horror novel ever.
Our lives.
Yeah. How these two crazy guys from Oregon get their hands on these young ladies. No.
Well, we had a giant box of Cheez-Its.
Yep, Cheez-Its.
We had mushrooms.
We had goldfish.
We also had a roll of duct tape and rags and maybe a thing of chloroform.
We had some cap guns that were really looking like real guns.
But don't worry about that. Where did we get it? I don't know. How's your mother doing tonight?
We had an actual working lightsaber for some reason.
Yes. Don't ask how we get it. We might know a time cop.
Well, I'm just saying, Luke Skywalker's
Skywalker.
Luke Skywalker. He owes us a favor.
What is that? The prostitute version of fucking Luke Skywalker? Luke Skywalker. He's like, yeah, I got a lightsaber. I can swing that around.
He's a sex worker.
He's a Jedi
He's a gay sex worker.
Gay or straight or bi, who knows? So maybe animals.
He's always using his saber on people.
So you're saying we have Luke Skywalker, sex worker?
Luke, sex worker, Skywalker. I don't know.
Wait. Because you said Skywalker, so Luke Skywalker, but yeah,
it's too much thinking. It's too much thinking. It's too much thinking for two stoned guys.
Yeah, we're trying to make a titleable podcast right here. We'll figure. It'll come to us.
That's what we'll call it. It'll come to us.
It'll come to us.
It'll come to us all over the place.
I'm blind.
You better watch out. It's coming for you.
And I mean, wear some goggles. Wear some fucking goggles.
All right, Trevor, what do you got here?
A lot of shenanigans as always.
Trevor Minute. Got Trevor News.
Hopefully it's been
Reading the Trevor News.
Pretty hot.
Yeah, we established that.
We still have the fucking goddamn track and field championships.
Oh yeah, I wonder how everybody's doing. I guess they're still going on this week, into the weekend probably.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
I saw some chick do a vault. That was pretty crazy. I guess they're doing some taping down there, obviously, but there was this girl that vaulted over a big ass fucking pole, and I was like, man, you imagine the old days, like somebody running at a castle with a pole, and then just getting over the castle with a pole. You'd be like, ah! I'm trying to push him back. Stop. What are you reading?
So I talked about how, holy shit, how like some of these students for track and field have been to the Olympics already, or like you have a guy, Jeff Oliver, flew back to Eugene after the London 2012 Summer Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is crazy because the World Championships, this helps determine like which of these athletes
go to the next Olympics. Yeah,
and other
these are the trials,
and other things by it. And it's
fucking
crazy
contracts
because
and sponsorships.
I've actually been inside the Hayward Field where this is going on. You know that giant new thing? I've actually been inside of it because I had a buddy.
I've seen the giant stadium.
It's actually crazy to be inside because I had a buddy that ran the marathon recently, like a month ago, Jeff, and he ran the marathon when he started and finished the end of that thing, and we went inside of it, and it's massive.
Yeah, no, dude, I've seen it. It's pretty large. It's the biggest thing around here, pretty much.
Yeah, it's definitely like a modern day fucking Coliseum. Like you still have the Austin Stadium. You still have the
Are you people
Arena.
not entertained?
Some Gladiator shit. Shout out Gladiator, Russell Crowe. Definitely a movie of our childhood, that's for sure.
Do you remember the Russell Crowe joke on South Park? Where Russell Crowe would go around the world fighting people?
Like he's fucking from the guy from the Gladiator?
Yeah.
His character name, but yeah.
Yeah. Russell Crowe's a funny dude. He actually played Zeus in the last. Spoiler alert! He played Zeus in the last Thor: Love and Thunder.
Did he?
Yeah, he played the character of Zeus, and that's like one of the spoiler alert, folks.
Russell Crowe.
Spoiler alert for Thor: Love and Thunder.
So Russell Crowe's Zeus.
Zeus, and
does he do a good job?
It's pretty good. Yeah. It's a funny character. He plays him like a overhyped Greek god.
You know what was fucking a great Russell Crowe movie I did see stoned a few months ago? I should actually give a movie on it. But it was Russell Crowe as fucking Noah.
Yes, I saw that.
That was awesome.
That was pretty cool. I've heard the story and I've seen the story of Noah play out so many times.
But they try to add the thing with like the tree, earth, people, and like, alright, you're adding things, but there's a lot of parts of like the Old Testament that they don't describe. Like there's a lot of stuff that's taken.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a part about tree folk that we. I just want to
see. I just want to see like
Lord of the Rings shit.
I just want to see Sodom and Gomorrah beforehand, like where everybody's just fucking doing wild shit.
Yeah, for that time.
And yeah, I just want to watch that for like most of the movie, just crazy like
fun
orgies
shit.
and fights and.
They're just like randomly fucking rocks and like flower pots and like
just whatever's close.
As dudes are just like sword fighting and drinking way too much wine and they're playing their harps way too loud.
Why isn't that a movie? Why isn't Sodom and Gomorrah a movie?
Dude, Sodom and Gomorrah the movie. Folks, come on, we know you're out there.
It's just gonna be a porno.
Hey, Spike Lee or Quentin Tarantino or
Quentin Tarantino would make a great one, Sodom and Gomorrah.
That'd be amazing. So Quentin Tarantino,
all Pulp Fiction-y.
Quentin Tarantino, if you ever hear this, you probably won't because we're way too poor for you. But if you ever do, Sodom and Gomorrah, your style, that'd be amazing. I want you to think about actors and actresses.
It'd be funny.
Make this story, make it kind of stick to it, but have fun.
It'd be funny because we're such a small podcast right now that like if somebody was to come across our fucking podcast, they would be like, these guys are stupid. but I'm gonna listen to some of their shit and maybe I'll steal a joke or two. I could definitely see some stupid comedian being like just listening to random podcasts and like stealing little bits.
Dude, comedians do that. It's
it's plagiarism.
But even like musicians do that too. Like,
of course, they find unknown musicians and they go, "Hey, it sounds pretty good. I think I'm gonna borrow that."
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
That'd be ridiculous if some famous guy like heard me play a riff he liked and I'm like, wait a second.
Hold on a minute. Hold on a second.
Hold on, bud. We gotta have a conversation real quick.
It'd definitely be a fucking we need to talk right now type of thing.
You owe me a lot of wheels of cheese right now.
You owe me a couple mortadellas.
Come on, cheese. Because everyone's always like, money. I'd be like, give me some cheese right now.
I want it in mozzarella. Right. And Parmesan.
Quality. My roommate, he also likes quality. He's part Italian, so you better make it good, bud. I don't want to offend him.
I don't know if I'm part Italian, but okay.
Just say you are. Just for it.
Yeah, babala babala.
Babala via. You're like a Family Guy when they go to Italian school. And the chick is like rat-ta-ta-ta-ta, just giant tits, and the guy's just like your straight like Fozzie character with the gold chains. Like, all right, we're gonna do this over here. This is fucking ridiculous.
All right, Trevor. So what do you got here? You got anything good besides the Oregon Duck news? We're always doing Oregon Duck news because we live really close to this fucking place.
It's fucking annoying.
Well, let's stop doing it, man. I'm sick of Oregon's duck news. Do we have not good topics? Stop picking up the pieces of paper. Let's read topics. Damn it, you're hitting the mic.
I don't have that many.
Trevor always sits here and he plays with the newspaper when we sit here and come up with great ideas for days, and then he just forgets them all the second we fucking start recording. Okay, go.
Alright, so one could be the whole issue of bullying. Actually, my boss and I talked about this. Like,
how do you create a school shooter? Just the right amount of bullying.
But it's like we talked about how like 90s and everything before. Like when we were growing up, like when you had issues with bullies, you handled it, and usually they left you alone.
It's just one of the things.
Now that you're not really allowed to do that, it's made things murky.
So we've decided as a society that we don't want our children to be picked on. The problem is in the real world, everybody gets picked on. Adults, children, babies. Babies get picked on sometimes.
Yeah. Animals get picked on.
Everybody gets picked on. But if you see it happening and you're able to stop it or prevent it, hopefully you should. The reality is that a lot of the times when shit goes down, sometimes you're by yourself. Yep. And the world isn't one big college campus, unfortunately. So you have to be prepared for the worst, but hope for the best, I think.
And unfortunately,
with bullying, that's a really tough one because as a parent, how are you supposed to send your kid off to school hoping that they don't get the shit beat out of them, or that they don't,
mass shooting, school shooting,
or they don't get shot, or somebody doesn't cyberbully them. That's a new one, cyberbullying.
Yeah, that's a new.
You know, these kids get online and they just trash people, and then everybody hops on board, and before you know it, you got a whole class making fun of one person, and that it drives kids to suicides and shit.
Mass shootings, yeah.
Yeah, and the problem I think also lies in kind of like, as a society, we've made it okay to bully people because we think it's kind of cool sometimes. But, everybody fucking eventually gets what's coming to them.
Yeah, but eventually if you bully someone, like, you should get punched in the face or something. Like, there's a point.
It's tough, man. It's tough. Knowing when to say when.
Yeah.
Everybody, I think, gets bullied, and I think people that get bullied eventually do a little bullying themselves.
Yeah. And unfortunately, some of them get jobs and positions of power where they do things that are out of line.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, I got you want to do your movie review as soon as you get back, or I can do my album review?
Give me just a moment.
Alright. Sorry, folks. We're living lives right now.
I gotta pee real quick. Bam, bam.
We're making dinner. Chris is checking the dinner. He's urinating. He's gonna make magic happen. I'm looking up the next album here. It's going to be good. Alright. In the meantime, I'll just, I guess, say a tongue twister. Sally sells seashells down by the seashore to seasick sailors and shell-shocked soldiers. Hey, not bad actually. Alright, what's going on? Still waiting for Chris. So, here's a good question. Why are red onions called red onions? They're purple. Oh, there's Chris. I've literally just been telling jokes and rambling, doing tongue twisters in the meantime.
Rambling on, huh?
Yeah.
Sorry I had to pee, folks, but you know how it works. Bladder, penis,
That's right.
those things.
Got to use my radio voice.
Using the radio voice.
Yeah, and just say random bullshit that I usually say, so it's good.
Yeah, I can go ahead and
do a movie review. I'll do my Elvis review.
What was the movie I watched the other day? Shoot. Hold on one second. Go ahead, Trevor. Do your album review. I'm going to think on this for just a second.
Okay.
What was it?
Alright, so...
Did I already talk about The Northman?
No.
Oh, that's it. That's the one I wanted to do.
Yes.
That's
Actually,
the one.
could I watch that tonight? Because you still have the tab.
Yes.
Can I watch?
Yeah.
Do you want to watch it with me? Or at least
Well, I've already watched it, but if you want to watch it, you're more than welcome. I'll watch a little bit with you.
Yeah, I actually want to watch this.
Okay, so give me just a second. I'll tell you about this movie. So, I just watched the other day The Northman. It was a 2022 movie with Ethan Hawke and some other really good actors and actresses.
Ethan Hawke's in it?
Yeah.
How is he?
He's pretty good.
He's a good actor.
And what's the woman's name? Not Sharon Stone.
Nicole
Kidman's in it, yeah. But really cool movie. It basically takes place in Viking times, back in like Norse mythology, and it goes a little bit into the gods of the Vikings and stuff like that. So in the beginning, you see king returning to his people, and he's coming back from a war, I guess. And he gets back, and he's basically giving his brother an award for being like the most dopest swordsman. And his son's there. His son's very young. So he goes to his wife after he gives his brother this award, and he talks to his wife about getting the son ready for his next step, basically becoming a king. And the mother thinks he's too young, but the dad's pushing for it because he knows that he might have borrowed time, basically. So he goes in with his son to this ritual in a hut where this old man is basically doing fucking spells and stuff, and they start acting like wolves. And there's like a gimp in the fucking cave that like is the spiritual guide or whatever, and he basically has him eat from like a human bone, or he has him eat some like slop. It's like the kid becoming a human wolf. And what ends up happening is once he leaves the ceremony, he's going to be a man, and he has to learn to fend for himself. And one of the things that his dad makes him promise while he's in it is that if he dies, he must avenge his death. So they get out of the ceremony. The boys become a man now, and literally within like minutes of them coming out, he's attacked. He's shot with a bunch of arrows, and then a bunch of people ride up, and it's
the dad gets killed.
Yeah, the dad gets shot. It was Ethan Hawke.
And he gets killed.
It's the king.
Yeah.
And it turns out it's his brother. His brother's the one that's doing it.
I already figured that.
Yeah, and so the kid is in the woods. He ran away when his father got shot, and they kill the dad, and the boy sees, and they try to kill the boy. But what he does is, as he's getting chased down by one of the guards, he slices his nose off with a fucking knife.
And the guard's nose?
Yeah, and then he runs away. And they weren't able to find him because basically the kid stole a small boat and he sailed away off of the island.
Badass kid.
Because the brother was going to take over his king ship.
Yeah.
And as he's sailing away, he's like telling himself, he's like, I'll save you, mother. I will avenge you, father, and I will kill you, his uncle's name. And he keeps saying that over and over, his motivation. So a bit of time goes by, and then we go to him as a man. The child's grown up, and all he's doing right now is he's running around with a bunch of other Vikings, and he's raping and pillaging, basically. And then he hears...
An active Viking.
Yeah, he's like the baddest Viking ever. But he's with a bunch of other guys. And he hears word that his uncle, the one that killed his dad, he's just lost like a bunch of men. Somebody took over some of his territory, and he finds out where they are. So he kind of goes undercover. He like starts swimming out from his friends, goes up river and swims up river and fucking meets up with a bunch of slaves that are going to his island. And
so it's on an island. Damn.
Kind of, yeah. And he becomes what looks like a slave. And when they get there, they're about to... Yeah. And when he gets there, they're about to get rid of the slaves, but he's like kind of the bulkier one, so they keep him and a couple of women and stuff like that. And one of the women he meets is this blonde-haired, beautiful, like Norwegian-looking chick, Swedish or whatever, and she's like really beautiful. And they end up falling in love later, obviously. And she's there also to kind of create chaos. So what she does is she realizes that he's there to fuck him up, and she kind of helps them while he's doing all this stuff to sabotage the king. She's like feeding mushrooms to people and getting them all fucked up and making them do stupid shit. And it basically comes down to them finding out that he's the son that's come back for vengeance, and they all attack him, and he kicks their ass a little bit, and then he eventually gets caught. And he gets beaten to near death, but he gets saved. There's also, I'm skipping a part, there's also the sword that he needed to go get, and this is the only sword that he can use to kill his uncle, because he's a really good swordsman, basically. And so he gets beaten to near death, and the woman comes to save him, and they end up having this cool scene where it's like a Valkyrie riding into Valhalla, and... it was like it wasn't his time quite yet, so he was riding, but then they stopped and they let down, and it turns out the woman, the blonde-haired woman, is a Valkyrie.
Is this Nicole Kidman's character?
No.
Someone else?
Yeah.
Way hotter.
Yeah. And it goes to show like that she's a Valkyrie and he's like the next king or whatever, and he doesn't have to, he fucks her, he impregnates her. And he sees a vision of her having two children, a king and a
Queen?
A king and a queen. Not a king and a queen, a son and a daughter. He's going to have two kids. Oh. So he has this vision, and while they're like riding away on a boat, because obviously now they know who he is, he makes the decision. He's like, he was told by a mystic he was going to have to choose between his life of happiness and safety for his family, basically, and the death of him. So he figures out that his children won't be safe unless his uncle's dead, and so he hops off the boat while they're fucking sailing away, and he swims all the way into shore, and his girlfriend just goes off into the distance. And then he goes to kill his uncle. There's this giant badass fucking scene of them sword fighting. And just as he's about to kill his uncle stabs him in the chest. And he gets stabbed in the chest, and on his like last swing, he fucking slices his uncle in the neck. And he fucking chops his head off.
So he kills his uncle.
Yeah. And he falls down. And his uncle's dead, but he's impaled, so he's going to die as well. But he basically avenged his father. And I forget to tell the story about the mother. The mother ends up...
some Hamlet shit, almost.
Almost, but the mother ends up being a fucking bitch. So he tells... He tells his mother that he knows that his uncle killed him, and he, like, took over for him, basically. And his mom was with the plan the whole time. She was the one that like set him up and shit, and she was like, "You were the bastard child of a rapist." That's what she called his dad. And she's like, "My actual sons are from a man that I loved." you know, and he doesn't want to believe it because, you know, he thinks his mom loves him, but his mom doesn't love him at all, dude. So she like tries to kill him and he kills her. Yeah, it was crazy because...
he dies?
No, this was earlier before he fights his uncle. But it's crazy because he kills his firstborn, he kills his secondborn, and he kills his wife. And then it's like this big fight afterwards with the uncle. Yeah. Okay. But great movie. 1 out of 10 Viking helmets. I'm giving it 9. 9 Viking helmets.
Yeah. Actually, Vikings, historical fact, didn't really use the horns. That was something that was romanticized in 18th century, 19th century German operas. But they used whatever they could. They had the traditional sort of like European early style helmets, like the dragon that came down the nose. But the horns thing, that was kind of added. But
I think as it being a part of your culture, especially.
Yeah.
And it is a fictional story, but it has a lot of really cool stuff to it.
I'm like 80% Scandinavian, apparently.
Well, dude, I'm telling you this. In the last like few months, all the movies I've watched, this one was one that I really wanted to see play out. Like, you get involved in the story and you get involved in what's happening. It was really well written, really well shot, and the characters are really cool, and you really get into their stories. So I thought all around, it's like a really good movie. I think you'll love it. So there you go, folks. Check out The Northman.
I'm going to probably watch that tonight. Woo! Thank you. I'm excited for that.
You're going to love it.
And we still have to get the trailer, and I was like,
and we still have to get the Step Brothers, folks. That's another one we still haven't watched together. I got to introduce Trevor to Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly as brothers.
I also have some movies to introduce you as well, some older stuff.
We'll have to flip it around next time. Yeah. Trevor's wanting me to do some Southern rap, and I'm gonna have him do a movie next time.
And then you can do an album. We've done it before.
Yeah, we got to whip it around, flip it around, man.
We've done it before,
keep it interesting.
It was good.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, we'll switch it next time. So in the meantime, I have a band I dearly love, kind of a industrial / new metal band. The band is called Deftones.
Okay.
And
I think I've heard of the Deftones.
Yes, and they got big in Sacramento in the 90s, and then they became a huge worldwide famous band.
I've definitely heard of them.
I grew up in Sacramento in the 90s, early 2000s when they were getting big. 90s, early 2000s.
It's always crazy, like the local bands that like get big. Like A Day to Remember was not a local band, but they were from Florida.
Yeah, I know people that knew them. I had a friend of mine, also from Sacramento. She used to be a meth dealer to them in the early 2000s. To Deftones.
Hey, don't meth around, okay?
Yeah, she was like, I don't like them because, you know, they just did meth and they were weird. I'm like, yeah, but they made great metal for that time. Like, they're one of the big fucking new metal bands we grew up with. They're up there with, like, Mudvayne, Slipknot. Like, they were part of Van's Warped Tour and the whole, like, Ozzy Osbourne tours and, like, the tours that you heard about definitely growing up.
Set up the after grunge, you know, effect.
Yeah, after grunge you had fucking
new metal. The Korn and Limp Bizkit.
Yeah, right after, literally, as soon as grunge died, when fucking Kurt Cobain...
Rage Against the Machine, System of a Down.
Rage Against the Machine, System of a Down, and then Korn, and fucking after that you had Slipknot, and then you had fucking...
Hootie and the Blowfish. No.
You had Third Eye Blind, and, you know, crazy bands like that.
311.
Yeah, 311, and then fucking...
Incubus.
Incubus, actually...
Well, they were around in the 90s.
Incubus actually has done music with Deftones. And Adam Sandler. I saw a video where it was Adam Sandler... fucking Incubus and the Deftones together. Adam Sandler.
I always love that Adam Sandler can play decent guitar. He's not great, but he's a good guitarist.
He's good enough.
And he can put a song together.
Yeah,
that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny.
Slava Joe, Slava Joe.
I always love his Jewish Christmas song.
Yes.
The Hanukkah song.
Yeah.
Here's a harmonica. Here's Hanukkah. Yeah. That's funny. Don't tell your mamaca.
So anyway, the band is Deftones. The album is called Ohms. OHMS. I think that's electrical spectrum thing. Ohms.
It's electric. Boogie woogie woogie.
But yeah, and then the song is called Ohms itself, and this is a newer album that came out just a couple years ago. So here we go. And
I think Trevor is going to be so happy about all these ads. Yeah, I like that. That was good.
It also gets pretty intense in the end, but the album is decent.
Hey, you'd know about that, wouldn't you, amigo?
Yes.
He had to find his cool guy shades to put on.
Sorry, folks.
I love that he has to put them on.
Hey, Valto, you got a problem right now? I don't have my shades on me?
Amigo.
Huh? We got a problem?
So that joke is from this homeless guy. I don't think we ever told this story.
We did once.
Maybe.
Briefly. And when I mentioned we mainly just glossed on him being a violent asshole. We didn't talk about the amigo act.
So I came home from a long day of work, so did Trevor.
Yes.
And as we're trying to relax and drink and shit, there's some homeless dude just screaming bloody murder.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, right across the street in a parking lot.
We're like, what
so eventually I just get pissed off and I'm like, I'm about to go beat the shit out of this dude. So I go up to him, I'm like, yo, what's your problem?
And I walk up right behind you.
Yeah, you come in a minute. But the guy just is rambling and he's going on about all this stuff about how his family just got murdered and all this crap. He's just talking out of his ass. But he can see how pissed off I am, so he's not really doing anything. And then Trevor shows up to back me up, which is real cool. But he's got a plaid shirt on and he's wearing glasses and
a shaved head.
And a shaved bald head. And he's talking to me and he's like, "What's up here?" And he goes, "You'd know about that, wouldn't you, amigo?"
No, because he mentioned something about murdering families.
Yeah, the cartel murdered his whole family,
and
basically.
I said, that's a rough business, man. He looked at me, he's like,
"You would know about that, wouldn't you, amigo?"
I had my shades on. So folks, when I do get tan enough, I have been mistaken for being
Trevor wants to be Hispanic, anywho. So the homeless guy, we just told him to shut up and get out of here. So he started to walk, and he literally moved right next door to the 7-Eleven. And then I went down to go get Trevor a beer later that night, and the guy was fucking still down there fucking with people. So I go up to him again, and I'm like, "Dude, what's your problem?" And I'm like, "Just get out of here." And I turn around, and I can hear him like stepping up behind me. So I turn back around, and he fucking sucker punches me in the eyebrow, and he hits me good. He gives me a good black eye. But immediately my adrenaline just switches on, and I'm like, all right, this guy's fucked up now. So I take him and I pick him up and drop him on his head in front of the camera of the 7-Eleven. And this guy helps me hold him down until the cops get there. And when the cops and the paramedics get there, they're just looking at my eye like, what happened? And I was like, this guy sucker punched me. You know, I kicked him out from in front of my place. And they were really adamant about me going next door to the hospital and getting stitches. But I was like, fuck that. I just want to go home. You know, it's been a night. And when I got back, I was bleeding from the eye, and Trevor didn't know what happened to me. He had tried to call me because it had been 30, 40 minutes.
I was about to walk over. I was literally about to put on shoes and walk over.
And when I got back, he was like, what happened? And I told him this story, and he was like, that's fucking nuts. So I decided I had super glue in my room. And I was like, you're going to help me super glue my eyes shut.
I also had a little bit of super glue.
Yeah.
We joined in.
We joined glues together to seal my eyes shut. But the dumbest idea was that I was all pissed off and I wanted to drink more. So I started drinking heavily,
Just
and then
straight vodka. I remember.
yeah, and it worked. The pain went away a little bit, and then
but alcohol thins your blood, folks.
It does. So if you got a gash or a fucking bleeding anything, don't start drinking to thin your blood. Don't do it.
I've had that issue myself, and it's rough.
So me and Trevor spent the next 40 minutes over his sink in his bathroom or in his bedroom, bleeding and trying to seal my eye up, which it did work. It did work.
It took a while, but it worked.
It worked eventually. We pinched my eyes shut.
Your brow,
and we kept adding glue. We kept adding glue.
And then you kept handing the bottle, and then I'd be like, "You shouldn't do this." And then you take a swig of the bottle. And
the funniest thing is, though, out of all of that, out of the black eye, out of the fucking hit thing, out of the split, out of the cut, it worked really well.
Right there, right?
It worked
just above your right eye.
Right here.
Yeah.
It worked really well into my eyebrow. So you can't even see it, honestly. It's just at the cusp of the corner.
Yeah.
So it worked perfectly with my eyebrow, and I didn't, I kicked the dude's ass for being crazy, and hopefully he got the help he needed.
Well, yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, because he obviously wasn't in any good shape. He's sitting there screaming his bloody murder and talking about the cartel killing his family. And
hopefully it worked out. But anyways, so we'll get back real quick to the album. So it's a good album, folks.
Deftones.
Deftones, the album and the song is called Ohms, spelled O-H-M-S.
Yeah.
Check them out.
What else do we got, Trevor? I know we got some good topics. We came up with some over the last few days.
Yeah, we could do next time when we have a third person, we'll do the fireworks sparkler political debate because we still have that.
Me and Trevor were sitting here talking one day.
No, you fucking walked in front of me at like 6:30 when I was doing dishes, and you just lit a sparkler right in my face, and you're like, "All right, so let me tell you about the education system." Da 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 da, and you just.
I don't quite remember it that way, but if you say so.
That's what happened.
Okay, but we came up with the idea that while you're having a presidential debate, you can only rebuttal for the time it takes a sparkler to burn out in your hand.
It's like 20 to 30 seconds.
So you got 20 to 30 seconds. Yeah, 20, 25.
You just got to get to the point.
So you got to get to the point. You got to make it happen, and you got to make it look sexy.
What's more sexy and American than fireworks?
Exactly. So if you can hold the sparkler and you can have a real good rebuttal in about 30 seconds, you might get the job.
Dude, we're about to solve so many political issues right now.
Instead of these long-winded conversations that never get anywhere.
Get to the fucking point.
Get to the point. Let's go.
Let's go. Also, fireworks. We like explosives. We like things that are shiny. Because we're Americans and we have short attention spans.
Fireworks. Hell yeah.
Point, fireworks. Public education. Porno. Hell yeah. Having sustainable energy plans. Not so much.
What else do we got?
We also have Steven Seagal as Louisiana state lawman, which you've ever seen. I've seen I can talk about Steven
a few
Seagal.
years ago, this is like 2016 maybe, Steven Seagal had a show.
A little earlier, but around that.
Maybe. Yeah. Steven Seagal had a show where he was... Okay, so I guess he got made an honorary deputy of the Louisiana Sheriff's Department, and I think it was 90s. Like Pierce County or something.
Yeah, in the 90s. So it's like southern Louisiana.
Well, not in the 90s. It was the 2000s.
Well, when he first got it, he's
well,
apparently...
for whatever. But Steven Seagal, he did this show, Steven Seagal Lawman, where he rode around basically as a celebrity with the cops, and he ran a small team of cops that would bust people on like small crimes and shit.
But he's like, hey, I'm still a cop though. I'm still a sheriff. What's up?
He would always show up on the scene and be like, hey, how you doing? I'm Steven Seagal. And they'd be like, hey, Steven Seagal, man, it's you. I seen that movie. What's up, Steven? Man. And it's like, man, what are you doing out here? You know this is wrong. He's like, Steven, I gotta support my family, man. What you talking about? And it's like, hey, Steven Seagal, when you gonna be in that next movie? I missed you in what's one of his movies, Trevor?
Fucking Under Siege 1, 2, or 3.
Steven Seagal is such a bad actor too.
And also, like, he was a martial artist from the 70s, but he one of those guys that managed to bullshit enough that...
I think he Elvised up. I think he turned into Elvis.
He was the Elvis of fucking martial arts.
That's the name of it. Elvised up.
Or just Elvis of martial arts.
Maybe.
Maybe. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Steven Seagal, Elvis, we're going to figure it out.
Steven Seagal Elvised up.
Or Elvis Presley, Steven Seagal, we'll figure it out.
Well, I think it's just one of those deals, especially where you have enough people around you that are yes men, that are just constantly going with your weird ideas because you have money and a little bit of fame. And they're just going along for the ride to see what happens. But it's the same thing that happened to Elvis Presley. He had all these yes men around him that just let him do pills and booze and just all sorts of dumb shit. And then eventually he just had a heart attack.
That was the best hand I ever got. Let me tell you. Oh, Elvis, you're so funny.
Trevor's talking about this Elvis documentary. That's pretty nuts. They actually just came out with a movie about him, too. A biopic.
Georgia Days, Florida Nights, bud.
Right. And it's another rendition of the Elvis story, but I think the underlining message in all these stories is that when you have somebody that's slightly famous or somebody that's very famous and they have money and they have capabilities of doing certain things, you need to not go along with all their ridiculous fucking ideas. You need to be able to stop them and say, hey, you're being a little crazy here. You're not a martial artist, Elvis. You're a fucking musician. And he's like, but watch this. Like,
also, Elvis Presley had a weird fascination with martial arts, and he would like pretend to do karate moves. If you watch his later videos,
so does Steven Seagal.
Yes.
You think Steven Seagal's good? He has a weird fascination with it, but he's not good.
Like he's decent at it. He could definitely fuck up someone that's not trained at all.
Obviously.
So what he's supposedly trained at is Aikido, which is a traditionally Japanese influenced technique that also went over to Russia, because there was a lot of Japan back in the day sent a lot of different types of martial arts around the world that got adopted by their countries. Like for example, Jiu-Jitsu went to Brazil. And then they mixed it with the martial art form that was native to the Brazilians, where they played these instruments.
You're talking about judo.
Yeah, and they mixed capoeira with judo, and it became Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
But you know where it all began? Thailand. Fucking Muay Thai. Muay Thai is such a rough sport, man. You see those guys sometimes, and they fight to the death sometimes. It's crazy. When
I was at a boxing gym for a little bit, there was a guy that trained with... There were some of the guys that trained with did amateur events, and I remember sparring a couple ways did amateur boxing, but there was a guy that did amateur Muay Thai, and he was this fucking 6'5" Filipino guy named Bubba.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that guy fucked me up.
I'm
a fairly tough guy. Like I can wrestle like.
It's hard to be tough when you're getting folded up like a pretzel.
But no, it wasn't even that. It's just this motherfucker. His kicks
are
his
lightning.
Kicks and his knees were ridiculous.
Trevor forgets that there's a microphone right in front of him, and he screams.
Sometimes I'm really quiet.
Sometimes you're normal, and then sometimes you're all the way up here. Trevor's like, crank it up to 11, bud.
Anyway, folks, Muay Thai.
They said the amp only goes up to 10. Yeah. So I said, crank it up to 11.
So yeah, knees to the guts, they don't feel great.
I think that it's just interesting how fighting has developed from all these different styles, but if you look at them all like individually, there's obviously pieces that are picked out, but Muay Thai is one of the strongest bases for a lot of it, like wrestling and Muay Thai. If you can learn those two, you're a mean motherfucker.
And Muay Thai is an entire striking defense where it mixes boxing and kickboxing
and grappling.
Not so much to once you get to the ground, but it mixes to like
knees.
It mixes kind of like where judo, like it gets you to the ground.
Yeah.
And then from there you usually strike them, whereas wrestling or like the jiu-jitsu is like, all right, we get you to the ground, and then all of a sudden I have you in a choke. I have you in some sort of like, I have you in an arm triangle, like I have you in some sort of hold.
Jiu-jitsu is interesting because jiu-jitsu's
really interesting.
A lot about taking the opponent and using their force against them. Mm-hmm. Where like I've seen that in wrestling too.
Like
really
good
wrestlers, they don't have to do a lot. You know what I mean? They allow you to kind of work your way into a problem.
They also do submissions, but a lot the wrestling now, as you and I both know, we did high school wrestling, is just a lot of it's like pinning, but it's also a point system and also being on your back. In wrestling, being on your back is the worst thing.
When you get to the big level of wrestling, which is usually college, collegiate wrestling is pretty much right up there with, like, a lot of the college wrestlers are also Olympic wrestlers.
Or they end up doing the pro thing. Or
But it's strange because, what were we saying? Damn, I'm stoned.
We're talking about wrestling and jiu-jitsu. So we're talking about how, like, wrestling and jiu-jitsu, they're both styles of grappling, but they're different styles of grappling.
Oh, yeah. What I was saying is that, like, really good wrestlers, they'll allow you to put yourself in a bad position, and then once you've done that, they'll take advantage. But with points, that was what we were saying.
Points was
with
a big
points, thing. When you get to that level of collegiate or Olympic, points become extremely important. Because most guys in high school, and I think most guys in college, obviously, they're going for pins. But really smart wrestlers have learned that you're not always going to get a pin. It's a hard thing to do, especially with a good wrestler. So you got to find a way to beat them another way, and that's strategy and points. That's
also in kickboxing. There's a UFC fighter right now called Israel Adesanya. He was a world kickboxing Muay Thai champion.
Yeah.
Does some grappling, but he's pretty much the next Anderson Silva, and he's like
Anderson Silva's the man.
He actually fought Anderson Silva, and he beat Anderson Silva, but they did it in a point system, like kickboxing. And Anderson Silva said literally, like, this is my successor.
Exactly.
And then when Israel won, he, like, literally bowed to him and gave him this gracious speech. He's like, look, this guy influenced me.
Because there's a lot of fighters out there.
It was the passing of the torch.
Yeah, there's a lot of fighters out there that understand, and they know that they will get old, and they will be watched very closely when they fight, because there's always somebody coming up with a game plan on how to beat you.
So it is good, though, if, like, you can meet a successful younger version of yourself.
Of course.
But especially if they're gracious.
All right, Trevor. And it makes it very interesting because, you know, I think that's in a lot of aspects, in a lot of places, watching the next generation come up and outpace you, basically. You know, it happens.
Music or fucking...
And that's what you want to happen. You want to happen, hopefully. You know, if the next generation isn't doing better than us, then we've failed somehow.
So we're supposed to evolve.
Well, we're supposed to set the next generation of people up to be more successful than we were.
Evolution.
Exactly. So if we set people up for success...
Moving forward, progression.
That will be... Exactly. That'll be the best for the herd, basically.
Yeah.
You know, versus if we all just fucking do what we can to save face, you know? So I guess the message I got is do for your fellow man, folks. Try to be nice. I know the world sucks and there's a lot of shitty people out there, but, you know, the world's full of enough shitty people. So you got to find whatever it is in your life that motivates you to be a better person and, you know, stick to it. And try not to compromise too much. I think it's real easy to fucking make a few personal decisions and then just become that. You know, try to be giving, man. The world's all about giving to the next step.
I got a real quick fun thing we talked about. It was actually an early morning thing Chris and I figured out. But instead of eating chopsticks, what if you had to use chapsticks? So every time, something you and I talked about. So instead of using...
This sounds like a Trevor idea.
No, you and I talked about it.
He is screaming at me. I am sitting right next to him, folks. I gotta use the podcast. If I can prove to Trevor that he's being a little insane, maybe he'll tone down a little bit.
I'm crazy. I'm completely normal.
I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy.
Chris, I've never done anything wild, never kicked out of anyone in my life, or been in a fight in my life, bud.
I know.
Fat chick you didn't mean to.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, I think we're getting ready to wrap it up. What was the topic? Chapsticks?
So, using chapsticks.
This is definitely a Trevor topic.
No,
he was stoned and he came up with this.
So, what if instead of folks, like, you have some nice sushi and you're like, oh, I got some chopsticks, but you don't have them, so you have to literally use, like, some cherry flavored chapsticks and you have to just eat with that.
All right, folks, and on that, Trevor, grab your guitar. We're going to wrap this one up. I'm not giving him any motivation to finish that one. No way.
Chapsticks.
No. Throw that one in the gray matter, man. Just let it be.
Worst joke ever.
All right, man. Chopsticks. Now it's hitting me. I'm like, what the fuck? It's a sleeper joke.
Original, folks. Mojo Madness.
Alrighty. Well, it's been real, guys. We always love doing this with you, and we hope to continue doing it. Trevor, you want to say anything to people before we go?
We got episode 1920 out.
Yep.
But
episode 1920 uploaded.
Most importantly, I hope you're doing well, folks.
Yeah.
Make good life decisions and try to suck a little less in life each day.
Yeah, that's exactly. Sucking less is all we can do.
That's all we can do.
Well, right, unless you're a girl. Yeah, sucking a little more might not hurt.
I'm offended.
I'm offended too.
Anyways,
what is it? Oh shit.
All right, folks. Have a good one.
I'm stoked. All right, folks. Two lonely boys in a canoe. Peace.